Okay, so it's Friday evening here, and I am taking out the rivets that are holding the edge of the roof down. This is where the panel's going to go. What I figured out was it was best to just cut these metal pieces off close to the hat channels. They're not really doing anything that I need them for, and that gives me access to be able to use the cutoff wheel to shear the bucked side of the rivets, and then I'm just tapping them with the chisel and hammer, or if they're stubborn, I'm using a 3/16 drill bit. These actually look a little bigger than 3/16, so I'm going to have to order a bunch of quarter rivets. I wasn't realizing these were larger than 3/16, but if I want to reuse these holes, that's what I need to do. So anyhow, I'm going to keep going at it here. Lots to remove. Okay, so I'm continuing today to take the rivets off of the top. I'm also going to finish welding in supports here, and I bolted in some hat channel cap on that side and that side after making sure the level was right again. But welding in here, and then I'm going to rivet 3/4 square tube in on these supports here and here. I'll rivet it, and then I'll run a bead of weld from the outside over the bottom. I'm not sure access wise what I'll be able to do at the top there, but anyway, just to stiffen things up in the front a little bit before we put the sheet metal on. Alright, so I've got some 1/4-inch rivets placed at the bottoms here of the 3/4 tube. I'm using the small tube because of the depth here on the inside of the channel. It's just pretty shallow, and the sheet metal has to go right up against it, so that's why. Okay, so those two supports are riveted in place. I'll tack some weld bead on them as well when I go around the outside doing all the welding. Okay, so I've got a couple 1/4 rivets in this tube here. You can see how many layers thick the metal was here. I'm actually going to weld this tubing in and weld another C-channel over it and make this very strong like the original. This should be pretty strong because it's supporting the door opening and closing, and I believe it's a fairly structural element here in the bus, so we're going to try to beef it up pretty good. Okay, so I've got these 1/4 rivets joining the C-channel to that 3/4-inch square tubing on the inside, and that way everything's tight and ready to be welded. We're going to weld at the bottom here all the way around, and then I'm going to run a bead on each side of the square tubing against the channel so that they're nicely joined, and again at the top weld as much of that around as I can to the old metal. So I'm going to hit it with the cutoff wheel to rough up the surface right before welding it. So I'm going to prep the other side now. Alright, so now that other side there is put together with rivets, ready to be welded. So except for the welding, I've got the front supports completed, although I think I'm going to put some angle iron in the middle to brace the front panel. But I'll probably tack that in place to the square channels. No, I don't have the coronavirus. I am just grinding out rivets, but the sparks are hot. Don't want to hurt my eyes. Don't want to breathe the dust. So yeah, that's why I look like I'm ready for the COVID-19. Anyhow, I've got a grinder, a drill, and a pneumatic air chisel, and that's what I've been using here. I'll show you. Alright, so first I do the grinder, as you can see by the disc-shaped scrapes there. Then most of them come out by using the sharp bit on the pneumatic air chisel. This is a Harbor Freight chisel. And then some of them that are stubborn, I've got to drill with the 3/16, slightly smaller drill bit, and then use the chisel. So figured out if I tuck everything in the holes in the ladder, it's easier to work. So I'm back at it here. I'll tell you what, this is a tiring job. I am about 2/3 down this side of the bus. So been at it for a couple hours. Even with the pneumatic air impact, the rivets are hard to get out, shearing them with the grinder than impacting them. But yeah, it's clear that school buses are very well made. Very hard to disassemble. I'll get back at it. Okay, so I've got the rivets off of this entire side of the bus. And I'm tired. I'm going to take a little break here, then get started on the other side for a bit. So the technique that works without creating damage outside is to remove these strips with the grinder, then shear the backs, the bucket part of these solid rivets off from the inside with the cutoff wheel or grinding wheel. And then you come back behind and you use the impact hammer to put it in place. And it should pop. And there you go. Just like so. There we go. Kind of hard to do that one-handed holding the camera, but you get the idea here. Just got to be on it. I'll tell you what, I don't know if this side's just more difficult or if I'm just getting tired, but progress on this side's moving pretty slow. I've been at it a couple hours and I'm getting whooped here. All right, so I think I'm going to call it quits for the evening. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections done. It's a little over 1/3 of the way, almost halfway down on that side. Just kind of running out of steam. Standing on the ladder is more taxing than one might expect. All right, so on the second side, I'm about halfway done with the rivets. I did put this hat channel in. I popped a piece of metal out that was basically right in there. And then this is above the emergency door. And I still got to finish popping that piece of metal out, but I was able to get that hat channel cap in place. That might be my last cap. I don't think I have any left. But anyway, I'm continuing here with the rivet removal, which is taking a whole lot of time. Alright, so here I am on top of the ladder. Never mind the pandemic beard. Figured I'll just grow a beard while I'm working from home. But anyway, block the camera. Anyway, almost done here. Got one more little section to do. And then the riveting is done. So removing the rivets is done.
You got a lot of work done.
Yeah, I did get a lot done.
Look at the puppy.
Hey, Bella. Hey, Bella. You come to help work on the bus?
Sure.
Don't let her put her paws down. There's metal shavings.
Wow.
So, yep. One more little section and I'm done removing rivets. Thank God.
Thank baby Jesus.
Oh my God. What a pain in the ass. Okay, so I have conquered the damn rivets. Must have been, I don't know, 400, I'm guessing. Probably about 400 or so rivets, 400 to 500. What a pain. But it's done now. Okay, so at this point, I've got the top rail completely devoid of rivets. You know, I've got the back ready to build that hatch. The hinge arrived from Amazon, so I got a 72-inch stainless steel hinge for that hatch. I'll need to fabricate that, but that's not keeping me from siding the bus. I can do that without the hatch itself being fabricated. But I've got a plug weld most of both sides at this point. And then you'll see I removed the rivets up top. Got a plug weld most of both sides. As you recall, if you watch the other videos, we've got these little holes where the original channel was drilled before the roof raise, and I'll put like a button of weld material in there to plug them and join the two together prior to putting the sheet metal on the sides. And I'd like some feedback. I'm going to come around the side of the bus here. So I took the remaining sheet metal. It was right here. I had to remove these 8 screws. Took that piece of sheet metal out, and the one that was up top I took out as well. The question I have is, I'm having a debate about this door, whether I want to widen it or not. Not sure. I don't expect it to be incredibly complicated to do, but I'm just wondering whether it's worth it. The dimension on the door is 24 inches. If we have the original bus door in the front over there, if we have that, if I rework that to be a normal opening door instead of a folding door, then I'll get 30 inches of clearance there. I'm just wondering, as far as bringing appliances in, most of which will be apartment size, whether it's worth it to widen that door. I think everything's going to be 24 inches at the maximum width of what we're going to use, but just in case, now would be the time to decide on a little bit more width on that door. If I do widen it, I'll bring it all the way over to this hat channel, and that's about another 9-10 inches of width or more, about 10 inches maybe. And I would just fill in the sheet metal in the door. I'd also make it taller. You know, I got the sheet metal to do it. The question is whether it's worth the effort. So the hardest part would probably be chopping this back right there, chopping that down to here and over, and finishing it as far as moving these back, cutting pieces of the rub rails back to make them look nice again. But not insurmountable, just a little extra work. So I'd like your opinion if you want to put a comment down below. Tell me what you think about whether that's worthwhile or not, or whether I should leave well enough alone and just leave the door as is. Well, not completely. Regardless, I'm going to lengthen it a little bit. If I do anything, it's just going to be to make it a little taller. That wouldn't be too hard. I'd split it right above the hinges here and just add some metal, and then raise the channels a little bit on the sides. But that wouldn't be too hard to do. But anyway, just thought I'd share my thoughts on this. Maybe get some feedback on whether that sounds like more complication than it's worth.